So I have some thoughts heading into Tesla earnings tomorrow that I will share with you in this video. I will discuss my plan for Tesla earnings if I am looking to hedge my position, buy some calls, or do nothing at all. I will share with you Wall Street's expectations for Tesla's earnings and what really matters and what does not matter for Tesla stock. So first and foremost, Tesla will report earnings tomorrow after the markets close. Sometimes 5 minutes or 10 minutes after the bell. I'm not exactly sure, and I don't think that matters too much. You are also going to get Alphabet that reports tomorrow in after hours, Enphase, Visa, Texas Instruments, Chubb, Seagate, Capital One, Kane Foods, and PCA. Tomorrow, pre-market, you also have some notable earnings from Spotify, UPS, GE Aerospace, GM, Coca-Cola, Lockheed Martin, Comcast, Polaris, and Philip Morris International. But really, Tesla and Alphabet, better known as Google, are going to be the first big companies to really define this earnings season. Collectively, just these two companies are well over $3 trillion in market cap. And just for a little bit of context, just these two companies are more dollar for dollar in market cap value than the entire Russell 2000. So these companies will have a large impact on the S&P and really just set the tone for the rest of earnings season before you get your other mega cap names that report next week. Now, as I'm sure you guys are fully aware of, by now at least, Tesla's stock has rallied from about $140 per share from last earnings to $271 per share at the high, now trading at about $251 per share. From that low to the peak was a rally of 97%. Currently, you're still up about 82% from the low of last earnings. Now, I think it's pretty clear that last earnings, there was just a lot of skepticism around Tesla, a lot of uncertainty. There were a lot of, bad news and a lot of negative headlines around this time, and Tesla stock probably should have never been $140 per share to begin with. So I want to just debunk what I know a lot of people are thinking or going to say, and it's this: Tesla does not need to fall because it's rallied a lot heading into earnings. I don't think that's the way you should look at Tesla right now. Tesla doesn't have to go down because you're up so much in the last quarter when you were coming from an artificially low place to begin with. And I think it's also worth considering that Tesla, relative to, let's call it your other Mag 7 stocks, is still like 35% off of all-time highs. So if you're looking at Tesla relative to Google or Apple or Microsoft or any of those other companies, you would say, well, even though Tesla's rallied more than those companies heading into this earnings, Tesla's still the bargain out of the bunch. Long story short, I think drawing conclusions just solely based on what's happened in the last 3 months for Tesla doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, sure, are expectations a little bit higher now than they were then? Of course. But that doesn't mean that we're destined for a drop. Because when you actually look at Tesla's estimates for their earnings, their margins, their revenue, all of the important metrics that Wall Street likes to pay attention to, the expectations themselves are actually very low still. As I talked about in previous videos, you're only pricing in a 1.7% year-over-year increase to top-line revenue. And the consensus mark for 2024 EPS is pegged at $2.48, implying a contraction of around 20.5% on a year-over-year basis. For this current quarter, you're expecting EPS is actually going to be down about 30% from where it was in this same quarter last year. These are not high expectations. In fact, they're really low expectation. The consensus mark for gross profit from the automotive unit is $3.75 billion, implying a 23.4% decline from the second quarter of 2023. Now, the bright spot for Tesla's earnings and where Tesla has high expectations is the energy generation and storage revenues. thanks to a positive reception of Megapack and Powerwall products. The Zacks consensus estimate for revenues from the energy generation and storage segment is pegged at $2.32 billion, suggesting growth of 54.6% on a yearly basis, and gross profit from the segment is expected to be $598 million, suggesting growth of more than 100% from the second quarter of 2023. Expectations are also pretty good from Tesla's services segment of their business, with that revenue expected to be $2.43 billion, up from $2.15 billion recorded in the year ago period. So basically everything besides Tesla's energy division and services division are expected to be down anywhere from 1% to 30% on a year-over-year basis. And if you guys just want my honest opinion, I think Tesla's gonna blow these numbers away by probably large margins. Now, I think the real question is, how much has this interest rate buy down promotion that Tesla has been doing throughout this last quarter actually affected margins and profitability? And that's still an open-ended question. We don't exactly know. But again, if I were to just speculate here, I don't think Tesla totally sacrificed profitability to sell more vehicles. Is that a possibility? Of course. But I don't think much has changed from cutting prices compared to buying down the interest rate. It's still a cost, of course, but perhaps there were ways for Tesla to offset this. For an example, it wouldn't surprise me if the cost of goods sold, which goes down almost every single quarter, also went down more than expected in the last quarter, meaning that Tesla's cost to make each vehicle probably declined more than Wall Street is currently forecasting. But I'm just going to be honest with you guys, these things are great. They're important for Tesla's, stock and what happens with Tesla. Over the longer term, you gotta come through with earnings. That is the biggest thing that sends stocks higher over time. But unfortunately, none of this really matters for the here and now for Tesla stock. Obviously, if Tesla comes out with really bad numbers, that's gonna negatively affect Tesla. Of course, Wall Street would love to paint that negative picture for Tesla. But at the same time, if Tesla comes out and blows these numbers away, I don't think that's going to cause any kind of significant upside move with Tesla, because I think Wall Street's going to sit here and say, I think that's already priced in with Tesla stock at $251 per share. Even though that may sound like a doom and gloom scenario, it's not. I actually have some good news. The thing that really matters for Tesla stock and what happens next for Tesla is all about the Robotaxi event, and it's all about the new models that we are supposed to be getting by the end of this year and by next year. Also an update on Giga Mexico, when we can expect that construction to get up and operational. That can also be important for Tesla stock as well, because that's where really your mass production of these cheaper presumably cheaper models are going to be produced. So the two biggest questions, if you really want to boil Tesla's earnings down to two things, it is this: Robotaxi, when is the event? And number two, when is the first Robotaxi ride actually expected to take place? That is the second most upvoted question for Tesla's management to answer from retail investors coming tomorrow afternoon. Now, unfortunately, I don't think Tesla is going to answer that question. I think they will answer that question coming on the Robotaxi event, and I think that's what they are going to guide for us coming tomorrow. Now, the single biggest driver of Tesla stock tomorrow, besides the Robotaxi event, whether it's on August 8th or October, I know a lot of people have drawn up their conclusions that it's going to happen in October. Although we have not gotten that officially confirmed from Elon or Tesla, and I would not be surprised if Tesla comes out tomorrow and they say, yeah, we're still going to do the event on August 8th. Not the most likely kind of outcome here, but still a possibility I want you to be open-minded about, and that would drive Tesla stock, I imagine, materially higher if that is what is announced. But really, it's about these new models that are, again, supposedly coming by the end of this year or early 2025. we want to know, what are they going to look like? How many passengers are they going to hold? Are they going to be just, smaller variants or, smaller battery pack variants of the Model 3? Are they actually going to be something that is materially different from everything else that we have as far as Tesla products today? And we also want to know if Tesla is continuing to guide for that end of the year, start of 2025 launch for these new products, or are they going to push that back? Now, the reason I'm a little bit optimistic heading into tomorrow about this specific issue or potential, I don't really want to say issue because that implies like it's a bad thing. But long story short, why I'm kind of optimistic for tomorrow in regards to the new models is because on Tesla's shareholder meeting that we just had about a month ago, roughly, you did get that slide of Tesla's new models coming that were covered up by tarps or digital blankets, if you will. And we kind of got an insight to one of them could be like a Tahoe looking product, more kind of like a van almost, and two other just smaller sedan like products. I don't think Tesla would have showed us that unless we were going to get something else material to follow up on that on this quarter earnings. I think that was kind of a preview of what we can expect coming tomorrow. So again, just to make my point very clear, I don't think the numbers matter as much as people think. Obviously, if they're really bad, then Wall Street's going to focus on that, and that's, not going to be great. But I think if they're really good, it's not going to make much of an impact as well. I'm talking up 2 or 3%, down 2 or 3%. That's what I mean. We're not going to get a 10+% outsized move just based on good numbers. Wall Street wants to know more about these new products. They want to know more about the robotaxi day. I don't think we're going to get anything definitive as far as when the first robotaxi ride is going to be or when that's going to start. That's going to happen on the robotaxi event. Now, if the event does actually confirm to get delayed until October, I think that's already priced into Tesla stock, but I think there is an upside potential surprise if indeed it still happens August 8th. Although you're cutting it a little bit close to still do it August 8th, it is still on the table. Now, from a technical standpoint, at least from the bullish technical standpoint, or I guess the bearish technical standpoint, is if we just have a so-so earnings, kind of everything comes in line, nothing spectacular, nothing's great, some good and some bad, then a retest of this 20-day moving average wouldn't be too crazy unlikely, in my personal opinion. That is around $233 per share. That's the first level I think you'd find a lot of support at. That also coincides with the low that you've seen on July 12th. Now, the only level that really matters, surely for the bulls, is around 225. As long as you stay above this downtrending trend line that we've recently broke above, that's a very defined multi-year downtrend, things are fine. Like, it really doesn't matter if Tesla falls to, $230, 227, 226 for that matter. You just want to stay above this long-term downtrending trend line, which is roughly around $225 per share. And my expectation is we will. I'm not expecting some kind of large drop. A drop theoretically from here to 233 would be a drop of about 7%, and I even doubt that happens. Like, we would have to get no new details on anything and not great numbers. Then maybe you could be in store for, a move down to 230. But I think it's going to be a lot of give and take. I think the numbers are going to come in really good. I think we may not get all of the new details that we're hoping for as far as new models, expected start times, or the robotaxi questions that are on the lineup for tomorrow. But I think we're going to get enough. I think Elon doesn't want Tesla stock to fall back down into a downtrend. I think the last thing Elon wants right now is for everyone to have bet against Tesla in recent weeks and to validate them. But hey, that's just my personal opinion, and we will have to wait and see coming tomorrow what actually happens. I will tell you, if you're judging off of institutional option activity today, what's going to happen when Tesla stock coming tomorrow, it would suggest a large upside move could be coming. Take a look at this trade, a December 20th, 2024, like this year, expiration, a 5:30 call. That's ridiculous. That's $100 over $100, $115 higher than Tesla's previous all-time highs. That's a pretty insane trade. But if you take a look at the interesting flow sentiment, you have seen 44 different trades totaling $21.11 million with a positive order value of 98%. Hedge funds and institutions wanted to get exposure to the upside in Tesla stock today before Tesla reports earnings coming tomorrow. Now, I think also in a potential upside surprise scenario, which I've talked plenty about here in this video so far, you do have a very large short position still in Tesla. You really haven't seen much short covering at all. Short interest of free float sitting at 3.79% short interest of free float. $25.16 billion currently sold short in Tesla, and this comes out to 105.2 million shares that are currently sold short. You can see today there was some firms on Wall Street that did cover on some of their short positions. You have return shares of 6.09 million, which is the highest we've seen in a long time. Makes sense heading into such an important event for Tesla, like Tesla earnings coming tomorrow. And you have borrowed shares, presumably shares that were sold short today, of 1.2 million. That means on net you had almost 5 million shares, 4.9 million to be exact, that potentially were covered on today. And that does explain why Tesla stock was up about 5%. Now, if we do get this upside surprise that I think is possible, I think you're probably heading to new highs for this cycle, which, to get back to 271, that would be a move of about 8% from here. I think if we get an upside surprise, you're at least looking at 10%. Tesla normally moves about 10% in either direction upon earnings. For a long time, it was like clockwork, literally 10%. Every earnings, we would just fall 10%. And last earnings, you went up, like 6%, and then 10% the next day or so after, a couple days after. Tesla last earnings went up 12%. Yeah, my apologies. And then the next day you went up 5%, down 1%, and then up 15%. I think there can be a much larger potential rally here than a lot of people even think, especially if shorts start to cover if we get the right information. If we get new models unveiled to us coming tomorrow, if we get the pricing and more guidance on when we can actually expect production to start, that's going to shake up all of Wall Street's models. That's going to make Tesla's estimates for earnings and for deliveries, especially for 2026, really start to move higher as well as Tesla really branches out their business into a larger total addressable market. So for fundamental reasons, that would be impactful. And I am expecting to get some more new details on those new upcoming models. Like I said, I mean, this could ultimately start a rally into the 300s, especially as we look forward to the robo-taxi event. Now, I think the bigger question is at this point, what's going to happen in the broader markets, and is that going to have an effect on Tesla? I have no idea, honestly. I think you've seen a lot of a dead cat bounce, if you will, today, based on the whole Kamala Harris stepping up news, Biden stepping down. I think it was just one of those moments where Wall Street said, hey, now we know what's going on. Let's go ahead and give a little bit of a tactical bounce. But I don't think that situation is over with. Not even close. And this could be an area of concern for markets going ahead for a while, especially as we get closer to the election and things become more finalized. I'm expecting more political uncertainty. Now, as far as my position in Tesla stock, not a whole lot's changed. $21,675.57 currently in Tesla, up a little bit over $1,000 today, 5.09%. Total return, $4,948, up about 29.5%. Now, this is not my entire position. This is the most recent position I've been growing over really the past 6-12 months or so. Average cost on 86 and a quarter shares is $194.01. Portfolio diversity, 37.47%, so heavily allocated to Tesla. And again, we've just had a couple really good trades that has boosted the overall portfolio value, and a couple other stocks that have recently done well with the small cap rotation. The portfolio diversity used to be like 50% in Tesla, so it's come down a little bit as other things have also started to perform well. But I really don't have any plans on buying puts heading into Tesla earnings. I do want to keep some cash on the sidelines. If we do see a material drop, then I will look to buy that. But I'm not certain that we're going to get any kind of material drop. Calls look interesting if we get an outsized move to the upside. Making contracts free looks like the best thing potentially to do. Go in with 5-10 options, get 20% return on those, sell out, keep a couple for free is what I'm referencing. That's not financial advice. I'm not a financial planner or advisor. If you listen to anything you see on YouTube or online anywhere, you're going to lose money, and options tend to expire worthless. So please do not do that. We're doing strategies like that in the trading community if you guys want to join. But again, that's you're never guaranteed to make money in any trade that you do or stock that you invest in for that matter. But, not concerned at all. Actually, I think I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight heading into Tesla earnings. So these are just some of my thoughts and my, expectations. If you take a look at Tesla's RSI, it's sitting at 63.96. Definitely a lot more room to see a, upside move, a greater gain in relative strength. So that would suggest there's quite a bit of upside Tesla could still have from here, considering the RSI was recently at 87 and now it's at 64, which is bullish, but definitely not overextended by any means. MACD has curled down. It is a little negative, but Tesla stock has fallen, or did fall, about 12% from 271 down to about the 237 level. So that's to be expected, and really not a big deal as well. So with all of this said, let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.